Hi, I'm Matt Sells. When I'm not stopping balls, I am listening to Le Bouge.
Here's Neymar now. Cavani is there. Balotelli on the turn. Quality. Kalufa Kamano. Oh, what a strike! An absolute beauty from Florian Thauvin. Kylian Mbappe wraps it up.
Bonjour et bienvenue. Welcome along to Le Beau Jeu podcast. Coming up, Lyon pile the misery on Marseille and take a big step towards Champions League qualification. Neymar bows out with a flourish. Guingamp go down, and Ligue 2 beckons as well for Monaco after their latest defeat. We've got an interview coming up with the Strasbourg goalkeeper Matt Sells, and we've got a super panel as ever this morning. Welcome along to a debutant and the first Frenchman actually on Le Beau Jeu podcast, Julien Brun.
Hello, and thanks for welcoming me, despite my terrible French accent.
He's got a great French accent, and it's great to have the man that we call Julien Brown, but his name officially is Julien Brun. We've got a Frenchman, an Englishman, myself. We've got an Australian, Robbie Thompson.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here as always.
And we've got a Scot named Andy Scott.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm very well. So hopefully you can cope with all the accents, and if worse comes to worse, you'll understand me, and that's the main thing probably. So, so let's move on. Now we're going to start, as we often do, with the big Sunday night game. Two of France's biggest teams going head to head. Slightly strange atmosphere because often Marseille versus Lyon is a top of the table clash. It wasn't especially that on Sunday night, but Armel Tanguy was there at the Velodrome, and this is what happened.
Maxwell Cornet has it, bearing down on goal, and Cornet's opened the scoring. Silence around the Velodrome. Dembele bearing down on Mondonda's goal here. Luis Gustavo in the way, but unable to stop Dembele. And Aouar has spotted Cornet. Are Lyon about to make it three here? Gustavo closing down, but Cornet finishes. And this is turning into a rout.
So a 3-0 victory for Lyon, a comprehensive win in the end. Cheleta Sarr was sent off for Marseille at 1-0, and it all went a little bit wrong. I know we've got plenty of Marseille and Lyon supporters out there around the world. Don't hesitate to get in contact. We've got an email address. You can ask us questions, ligue1podcast@gmail.com. And please do give us a rating when you do listen to our podcast. Please be not well. You can give us an honest rating. We're on Spotify. We're on Deezer. We're on iTunes. I'm going to start with Julien Brun and hear Julien's view about this. It was obviously an important victory for Lyon, and perhaps a result that kind of sums up Marseille's very poor season.
That's the least you can say, obviously, because all Marseille's season was quite painful in terms of results, in terms of the way they play, in terms also on the way the supporters behave compared to what they can do with the coach and so on. And one thing is quite sad for Marseille is the fact that they really had big hopes before the season before. And right now, I think they might be quite sad because not only in the Ligue 1, but also in the French Cup, in the European Cup, the results were really poor.
They're terrible. And can you understand the fan behaviour? We saw thousands of fans leaving at 2-0. The ones that stayed behind, particularly behind the goal, they were holding up banners. It was all quite comical. But do you understand this anger?
I can understand the frustration, of course. The thing is, you can't really understand and cope with the violence that was sometimes in the stands. But compared to what they were hoping with the Champions Project, the so-called Champions Project, of course, the fans can be quite disappointed. And it's not only a question of results, it's also the way they play, the way the team was not, I can't say focused, but it seems like there was no general idea of what the team could do this season. The plans were changed all the times. The players were changed all the times as well.
We saw the stat last week when it was 40 different starting 11s in 43 matches from Rudy Garcia. There's there's been no consistency in their game plan.
And it's not only a question of injured players. It's also
No, it's
because they
tactical
can't
choices.
find the right way to play.
Garcia
But
has
that
looked, he's
is-
looked lost, doesn't he, for several months, Garcia. He doesn't seem to know
Well,
which
exactly.
team to pick. And to be honest, I looked at the starting 11 yesterday, and we know that Balotelli's been out of form in the last few weeks. They had a front three of Campos, I think, on the left, Radonjic on the right, who just has produced nothing since he joined. Balotelli through the middle, walking through the game as he often does. Let's
Like a
face
Nice
it.
player.
They were never, Andy. They were never going to hurt Lyon last night, were
No,
they?
not at all. And the sort of contrast with 12 months ago is pretty stark, isn't it? Because obviously they got to the Europa League final a year ago, and we had this game on Sunday coming just a few days after we saw the other European semi-finals. A reminder of where Marseille were, and they really have gone so far backwards this year. And it was just, again, the contrast with the vibrant youth of the Lyon team. I know that Lyon have had a difficult time in the last few weeks, and with so many young players, you get that inconsistency. But they have all these younger players compared to Marseille's sort of rabble of older players who many of whom need to be moved on this summer, and even some of the younger players who they have had coming through. Boubacar Kamara, obviously somebody with a big future ahead of him, but had a bad night last night, at fault certainly for one of the goals late on, and also for the first goal too. So just a disastrous night all round. I think I felt that the atmosphere wasn't quite as poisonous, maybe, as it has been in previous games between Marseille and Lyon. But again, that's maybe indicative of the sense of resignation around the club and around the supporters at this end of the season.
It's one defeat for Lyon against Marseille in their last 18. They haven't beaten Marseille, I think, since 2014. And
10 games in a row.
10 games in a row. And I mean, the thing is as well, I think Andy's got a point there, because Lyon's season, I think, has been disappointing. They're third, but you look at the quality they've got, and I mean, there's no contest between that Marseille squad, that Marseille team, and that Lyon team. And we saw it last night. Even though Lyon are not in form, they just had too much for Marseille.
Yeah, and especially you were talking about the front three boys, but if you talk about the two defensive midfielders and the two central defenders, it's just as if they were all slow yesterday night. And when you play against a fast team like Lyon can be, it was really a nightmare for them. When you see Strootman, Luis Gustavo, Chaletazza, and Camara, four of them can be or have been or will be good players, even if not very good players. But all together, it seems like you have like a square where you know that if you run quite fast, you will beat them and you will be faster than them. And it's really something that you can be scared of. If you play against a slower team, it's okay. But with a fast team like Lyon can be, maybe Lyon is not the best team that can be, but when they play counter-attacks and things like that, you know they're really fast. And when you have those four in front of Mandanda, you can be scared before the game.
Yeah. Coaches say it all the time. It's about finding the right balance and trying to, and that's clearly what Rudy Garcia has been trying to do, and Julian just said it before. He hasn't found. He's been mixing and tinkering and trying to change things and look for that elusive balance. And coaches say, look, it's all about a balance between left and right, attack, defense, all these things. And everyone says, yeah. And then everyone forgets it. But it is. And finding that balance is so crucial. You cannot hope for anything if your team
He has to take the blame, though,
balance.
Robbie, because by all accounts, he is the man calling the shots in the transfer window. We've got Zubi Zareta working as a sporting director. But like I say, according to all the reports we're hearing, Garcia gets the final say on transfers. He knew Kevin Strootman well because he worked with him in Roma. He's probably been the flop of the season. When you consider the money he's cost Marseille in the transfer fee and in the wages. We talked about Radonjic. Chaletazza has come on a little bit.
But Strootman never wanted to leave Roma. He's sold against his wishes. He writes a big letter to the Roma fans saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry, this was never meant to happen. He ends up in Marseille, which is a different environment completely for him. He has to adapt. Radonjic, I think, doesn't look like the worst player in history. He's very, very quick. He's obviously technical, but it's his first time. He's young. It's his first time out of Serbia. And, give him a chance. These players take time to adapt. And everything needs to happen so quickly, so immediately. Strootman, yes, he's a very experienced
he's looking
player.
like he'd struggle in the Australian league at the moment, what I've seen from him. I mean, you're being very nice.
But sometimes
Well,
we're a
okay.
bit
Well,
cruel,
I'm ready,
no?
just about ready for a coup de gueule, Matt, against you because I've had it just about to
The
there.
good girl's not meant to be against me. That's not the point. Sorry,
It's
Andy.
about that
I'm in between you
mentality.
two guys and try and calm things down here, me and Julien. But I mean, we are sometimes a bit cruel towards players who we see them perform in one game and we make judgments, and maybe it's a bit unfair. But Radonjic, one game that I commentated when Marseille played at Bordeaux recently, it was about the worst individual performance that I've seen from a player in Ligue 1 this season. And again, that might sound harsh, but it's just
Yes, but
the
Marcus
facts
Coco
that-
yesterday for Guingamp had a complete nightmare, and he's a France under-21 international. He's physical, a great athlete, and just a disastrous match.
Well, players have bad games, but unfortunately, when you invest the money that Marseille have invested in experienced players, you expect immediate results, and when you don't get them, you have a big problem because there's no real sell-on value for somebody like Kevin Strootman. You're going to lose a lot of money when it comes to moving him on. And, they haven't invested in youth. They now need to rebuild again. And this idea of a champions project, it's not really a project in the sense that they're not building year by year. They've gone backwards by such a long distance in the space of 12
and the
months.
thing is, they've come in and they've talked a big game, haven't they? Since Frank McCourt, the American owner, came in, Hérault, the president, gave his first speech, I think, with the Champions League trophy. He managed to get hold of that and talk to the players and said, "Guys, this is where we're going." And actually, no, they're going to be out of Europe next season. Third time in 6 years that Marseille have been out of Europe, and that's not good enough for a club like OM.
No, sure, but it's quite easy for us to say that now because when they arrived and they had a team to rebuild, they really needed to have immediate results. And to do that, you had to have some players that have experience, that know the Ligue 1 quite well, and that can be able to have good results right now. The problem is that it didn't work. And now it's like a vicious circle because those players, they lost their value. They lost also the mentality maybe. And now you know that you can't build your team on them, but they are still there with big contracts, big wages.
But it's almost a vicious circle Marseille have been in since 1993. Like it feels like
they've
very
been champions since
they have been champions once since
Yeah.
then. But it feels like this club is permanently in crisis, and nobody has found a way of building a legacy.
There have been some quite good seasons with Guéret first and with Deschamps.
The euphoria around those couple
Yeah.
of seasons with Eric Guéret and Deschamps when they were champions, but it seems like it's all or nothing with Marseille. It really is over.
it has always been.
Enthusiasm and euphoria, or just over the top, complete despair. Like that. Where is the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, that's the case at a lot of clubs, isn't it? But Marseille and
Well,
France
more and
especially.
more I'm getting the feeling, Andy, as well. There seems to be very little people able to look at things, take a step back, and look at a situation clearly and just say, look, this is a plan we have building for the future, or this is the situation we're in. We have to turn things around slowly, not just all go charging in one
Robbie,
direction, then all go charging in the other
I think
direction.
you're playing into Julien Brun's coup de gueule for this week because our coup de gueule is our rant. We like to have get something off our chest this morning, and Julien came in with something on his chest that he's keen to get off. So let's hear this week's coup de gueule.
Oh merde, quelle bande de chèvres! C'est mon coup de gueule.
Yes, I have to say that I am a bit sad today and this season because it seems like no one's really happy of their team's season. If you're a supporter of Paris, you're sad because you didn't make the double, you lost in the Champions League, and even if you're champion, you can't be happy. If you're a Lyon supporter, you're not happy the way your team play, you're not happy about your coach, even if you will probably finish on the podium. If you are Marseille fan, you're not happy because you will not play Europe next season. I mean, the problem is that it seems like most of the fans now just can't stand that the results get their way. It seems like when you start a season, you know that there will be one champion, there will be one winner of the Champions League, there will be 3 teams that could go to the Ligue 2 the season after, and it seems like no one can stand that anymore.
But
And
Julien, is this a French thing? Because I get the metro in the morning in Paris, and nobody's happy on the metro.
no, but I mean, the thing is, football is one of the most exciting thing in the world, in my opinion. But still, you have to get some steps backward to think about what it is and that you have to like or love football for good reasons. If you want to be angry at really important things in your life. If you have problems with your family, with political issues and so on. But if you're in football and you're there only to have negative emotions, it seems like a waste of time.
Because I'm thinking about, I'm from England, I'm thinking about the equivalent, and I get the feeling that it's the same in England. Almost.
Maybe.
The Liverpool have got 97 points, but they're not happy. They could lose the Champions League final, they could finish with nothing. Obviously, Manchester United are unhappy. Arsenal are unhappy because they're out the top four. Chelsea are fourth, but they're still unhappy.
But
Tottenham are just about happy. Let's say that they're like the Saint-Etienne or something.
I mean, I think this is. I get your point, but I think the celebrations in Lille yesterday when they secured second place would indicate that they're quite happy.
Yeah, but there are 2 or 3 teams happy.
Yeah, of course, but football fans are condemned to forever be slightly dissatisfied. You never have enough.
Dissatisfied and angry are 2 different things. I think maybe they're trying too hard to be that unhappy. They can be disappointed, of course. I can be disappointed with a bad result, but still, you have to think that you will play the Ligue 1
You were in
next
Rennes
season.
yesterday for the game against Guingamp. The Rennes fans, they must be pretty happy. I know they've not won in 9 games, and Hatem Ben Arfa was complaining after the game yesterday, but they've won the cup. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They won the cup for the first time in 48 years.
And I think they should be happy no matter whatever happens. But still, there was some booing when Ben Arfa left the pitch because he had a bad game. But everyone knows that Ben Arfa's season is over anyway. He will leave next season. They won the French Cup. Who really cares about tonight's game? And it's just like as if you were forgetting what happened, what good things happened, and you just think about the last game. You have to have a general view of the season. Even if the Paris fans, I can understand their disappointment about the fact that they lost in the Champions League this way against Manchester United. But still, saying that you can't be happy that you win the league is quite ununderstandable.
And the point I was making, which I think is a very good point, last week in France as well, you've got 2 automatic Champions League places only.
Yeah.
Usually, PSG are going to have one of them. So you've got, Marseille, Lyon, depending on who else is having a good season, whether it's Lille or Monaco. There are going to be more teams unhappy than happy because that's almost minimum expectations for Marseille and Lyon to be in the Champions League, and yet only one of them will get that automatic Champions League qualification, and in this season none of them will because Lille have been so good. Just to finish, that was a good first attempt at a good goal. Well done. I almost want to clap, but I'm not going to because that would be very condescending. Robbie, Lyon. Let's just finish because we've talked a lot about Marseille. Lyon, they've almost done it now. They've almost secured third. They're 4 points ahead of Saint-Etienne with 2 games to go. We talked about them having too much quality for Marseille last night. An unlikely hero in many ways, Maxwell Cornet, who scored 2 goals. This is a guy who's been on the fringes for most of the season, but clearly he's got quality. Showed it against Manchester City, of course, scoring 3 goals in 2 games against them. 2 goals away to Marseille is a big achievement as well. And Cornet.
He's a strange character, Maxwell Cornet, because he signed from Metz, I think it was, and were they in the 2nd division at the time? He cost a fair bit of money. He was a young player, and then they never really played him at first. That first season, he didn't play much, and there was a lot of expectation amongst the supporters. It was probably around the same time that they'd sold Anthony Martial, I think, as well to Monaco. So maybe there was this exchange where the fans were disappointed to have seen Anthony Martial leave. In comes this player to replace him, and so they want fair exchange, and probably they didn't get it when you look at the 2 players like that, Martial against Cornet. But then he played a couple of matches, didn't perform, and the fans just turned on him, and it was really like he was really signalled out by the Boo Boys. He was worse treatment for him than Bruno Genesio.
He looked raw. He looked raw, didn't he? But it's very hard on a young player, and now we're seeing that actually. He does have some quality.
Things that he's scored important goals in important matches, and sometimes he comes back and the fans applaud him, and he gives the interview at the end of the match saying, "Yes, I've had some hard times, but that was great that the fans applauded me." And the next game, he hits a cross to the 3rd post and gone out, and all the boos start coming again. It's just one of those players, I think, that the fans don't like, and maybe he should change club for his own best interest.
I think he probably will. Andy, you follow Scottish football very closely,
of course,
as a sort of obligation, a duty as a Scottish person. you know Moussa Dembele very well. I have to admit, I can't really understand anymore why Bruno Genesio is leaving him on the bench. He came on last night and just so dangerous, so clinical, scored the goal. He's playing Memphis. Well, last night was Memphis Depay as the centre forward, but surely Dembele, he's got to make that position his own now.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think I have to look at the numbers from last season, but I feel like Moussa Dembele has become more of an out-and-out goal scorer with Lyon than he almost was at Celtic previously. I don't think he scored that many league goals for Celtic last season anyway. He's become this out-and-out centre forward, where maybe he was more involved in building up the play with Celtic as well. He's been, if not a revelation, he's been a very impressive signing, and his development as a player, he just gets better and better. Maybe he lacks the consistency, but yeah, I mean, he's certainly one who's going to continue to be very important for Lyon next season and beyond.
Lyon are now 6 points, so that I said they're 4 ahead of Saint-Etienne. They're 6 points behind Lille with an inferior goal difference. Julien, I know you have a soft spot for Lille. They're let's face it, certain now to finish second. They're at home to Angers and then away to Rennes, and as long as they don't capitulate, I mean, that's some achievement for them. Is this the start of something exciting?
Well, it might be, of course, but you don't really know how it will happen with this club. When you see where they were last season at the exact same point, they were just over the relegation zone. So 1 year after they're doing that. But the thing is, we have to understand that it will be hard for them to achieve several these seasons this way, because the project, the team project, the club's project is not to keep those good players like Pepe or Thiago Mendes or players like that, but is to sell them, to buy other players, and to try to make them as performant as these ones were.
And Julien, you've seen the great Lille players of, let's say, the modern history, from Bruno Cheyrou through to Eden Hazard. No, you're laughing because Bruno's your friend, but he was a top.
I was a big fan of him.
Yeah, Bruno Cheyrou was a top player for Lille.
Yeah.
Eden Hazard, Gervinho. How good is Nicolas Pepe? Where's he gonna go? You got any inside information for us?
Well, we know that there has been some offers for him. There's a real interest from Inter Milan. There has been some contacts, not offers, but contacts with Bayern Munich. I think I've heard some PSG rumors for last winter as well. Obviously, he has the kind of role that makes him quite interesting for almost any team in the European football. To be fair, I didn't expect him to be that good, but these last 2 seasons, he showed in the French league that he has the potential to play in a good team, in a very good team, top team like we can say Chelsea or Bayern Munich or even PSG, for example.
Yep.
He improved in several ways. He's more clever in the way he plays with others. He's more clinical as not a center forward, but as a forward player. And I don't know if he's as strong as Hazard, but since Hazard, there has not been any players of that level in Lille, for sure.
So what you're saying, Julien, is he's probably signing for Arsenal this summer. Is that right?
It would be good for you, of course, and especially for the Europa League next season.
I didn't mention it, but Lille won, by the way, yesterday, 1-0 against Bordeaux. Loic Remy scored from what was a brilliant free kick. Ikone. Just dinking it over the wall. Delightful touch, and Remy volleying it in. And there were some wonderful scenes afterwards. Christophe Galtier got absolutely drenched by the players in his press conference. Well done to Lille. Nobody expected them to come second. Everybody expected Paris Saint-Germain to come first. They have come first, and they even won a game because they've been struggling to win their matches since they clinched the league title. But Andy Scott saw the action between Angers and Paris Saint-Germain.
Swung into the edge of the 6-yard box, and Neymar heads it in. There is the opening goal, and it's the Brazilian who gets it on his farewell appearance for the season. Neymar away from Monceau, holds up the cross. Di Maria, easy does it. Another headed goal. Angel Di Maria from the Neymar assist. It's the 100th goal of the season in Ligue 1 for the champions.
Well, Andy, Neymar did the business. He's going to be suspended now, so that was effectively his last performance, his last game of the season. He scored and he provided an assist. Only 5 players have achieved that 6 times this season in Europe's Big 5 leagues. Did you follow that?
Niche.
Yeah. So Nicola Pepe has done it. At least a goal and an assist in a game 6 times. Lionel Messi has done it. And our friend Neymar has done it. How good was he at the weekend? And do you see Neymar focused? Do you see Neymar looking to kick on now? I know his first 2 seasons have been badly hampered by an injury, but is next year going to be Neymar's year?
Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, obviously the 2 seasons that he's had in Paris have been underwhelming to a large extent because of injury, so you never know what's going to happen. But I was very impressed by him at the weekend. I thought he looked really on his game. You saw that towards the end of the game when they conceded a penalty and Marquinhos was sent off, and he was furious. He was raging with the officials about the decision. I thought he looked really kind of implicated, like he was wanting to be, if not a leader as such, in terms of the squad. In a technical sense, he looked like obviously the leader on the field. Mbappe wasn't there. He was the guy who got the opening goal with a header, no less, his first headed goal in Ligue 1. Brilliant assist for the second goal. I thought he looked in the mood. I thought he looked like the Neymar that Paris Saint-Germain supporters probably hoped to see when they bought him in the first place. Far away from this idea of a guy whose head is not in it at all, who wants to get back to Brazil as soon as possible. Obviously, it's his last game of the season, so he probably felt that he had to make a big impact, and he'll be off to the Copa America. And hopefully, from a Paris point of view, he'll come back stronger next season, even if he will be suspended for the very first game of next season, and obviously suspended for the first 3 group games in the Champions League, which is a potentially big issue.
Appealing both those decisions, though, by all accounts. Neymar, I think, wants to play well every game. I don't think it's because he's going to miss the last 2 games of the season. He wants to be the star of the show every game. His statistics are incredible. He's played 57 times for Paris Saint-Germain. He's scored 50 goals and supplied 28 assists. So the problem is not his performances with Paris Saint-Germain. The problem are he's broken his foot twice. Yeah. And that means he's only played 57 of 108 matches since he's been at the club.
And I thought the Angers coach Stéphane Moulin came out and said he just doesn't understand why people are constantly trying to criticise him, why fans are booing him. This is the sort of player we want in our league.
But that's the history of football as well, is that everyone hates the biggest star and wants to knock him down, and everyone wants the underdog to win. And that's why everyone likes Strasbourg when they get stuck into Paris Saint-Germain. Look, that's football. Neymar accepts that as well, I'm sure. I think this bizarre end of the season for Paris Saint-Germain is epitomised by the fact that Neymar scores a header and so does Angel Di Maria in the same game. 2 headers from guys that barely know how to use anything other than their right foot or their left foot for respectively for the 2 of them. It's 100 goals this season as well. It's only the second time that Paris Saint-Germain have scored 100 goals after 36 matches. All this doom and gloom about this season is, again, put in some perspective by the statistics. If you just take a step back and look at the facts, it hasn't been the worst season in the history of all humanity for Paris Saint-Germain. It's been a very good season.
But, Robbie, bringing back some doom and gloom, we had Thomas Tuchel after the game, again, making a comment that surprised a few people, because we've seen Gianluigi Buffon and Alphonse Areola sharing the goalkeeping duties. And it's almost like PSG have gone out of their way to tell everybody that this is a great situation, that the 2 goalkeepers are really helping one another. And actually, Thomas Tuchel came out and said...
It was in the press conference.
It was in the press conference before, and said, listen, what are we doing? No other club in Europe operates like this, having 2 top goalkeepers sharing the jersey. We're going to have to change this. Is that, Julian, is that another sign that Thomas Tuchel is unhappy at the way this club is being run?
Maybe not the whole club, but the way some things are rolling right now. But you can understand the fact that they want to choose someone, because even if you say that they split the role, you can't really split, because when you play the Champions League last round, you have to choose one, and the other one, even if he plays the French Cup final or the French League games, he won't be happy. And the strange thing with this situation is, to be honest, I don't really understand why they chose Buffon instead of terms of image and so on. If they chose Buffon last summer, they had to get rid of Areola, because you can't tell that a goalkeeper will learn from him when he's 25 and when he just won the World Cup.
But Buffon is 41.
Yes, exactly. That's
He's
what I
old.
mean. You have to make a choice.
You're steady, Andy. 41.
For a footballer.
Lifestyle
He's
for,
old.
for a footballer, yeah.
For a footballer. But, you had Louis Kembe playing at the weekend in front of him, who's 17.
Yeah.
Gianluigi Buffon is 41. And by the way, he made 2 brilliant saves in the first half when it was still 0-0.
But it was against Angers. That's not
Against
when you expect
Of
from him.
course. And the problem is that when you change goalkeepers, like he did in the Champions League, when you play one and he makes a mistake, like Buffon did against Manchester United in that crucial game, you're made to look a little bit foolish. But also before the game at the weekend, he was complaining about changing goalkeepers, and then what did he do? He changed the goalkeeper.
Can I just say from personal experience, I was recently back home in England, and I had to sit out a Podium podcast, and I wanted Dave Crossan to do well as the presenter, but I was back home listening, and he was funny and he was smooth and I ended up throwing my phone into the bushes and my wife had to calm me down and say, "Don't worry, Matt, you'll be back next week." And officially I'm behind Dave, but it's hard. And I just want to say regarding goalkeepers, because we'll get off my life and back to goalkeepers. PSG.
I think there is a clear correlation between the two cases here, Matt. I think that's very valid. The point you've just made is very valid.
I'm 41, like Buffon. Dave
is 17.
I think on a human
He's not
level,
25.
I think Alphonse Areola can learn from Gianluigi Buffon, but not necessarily in this situation. I think if you'd said Alphonse is the number one, Gigi will play the domestic cup competitions. He's suspended for the first 3 matches of the Champions League. Anyway, Alphonse is number one. Gigi is in the dressing room. He's there. He will play if anything comes up. He will train. He will do all of this. That is a way it could have worked.
Absolutely.
It could have worked.
But he could learn from Gigi Buffon as he could learn from Lloris during the World Cup as well. But you can learn more when you play against Manchester United in the last 16. So I think you have to trust someone. And in this season, no one really believes that they trust in Areola. So for him, they have to make a choice to say
it's been
if
a difficult
he has
career
to
for him, hasn't it? I mean, with loan deals at Lens, at Bastia, Villarreal, comes back Kevin Trapp. He almost had a sharing role already with Kevin Trapp in the first season of Unai Emery as well at Paris.
So if you have to trust him, trust him. If not, leave him and let him go. He only had 1 year of contract last season when he renewed it. So if they renewed it, I don't understand why they didn't trust him completely.
And all the talk now is that Paris will let perhaps Buffon go, and they need to bring in another top quality goalkeeper.
I was just going to say, I know we can't talk about
but
this all day, but I do think that actually, if you're going to have a hierarchy in the goalkeeping positions, in a way it makes sense that you keep Areola and Buffon, and you make Buffon the number 2 who only plays occasionally, because he will be 42 in the second half of next season. So to get rid of him and bring someone else in,
you got a real issue with age.
I am ageist, yeah, massively. I mean, I'm 35 myself. I mean,
you could still be a top goalkeeper in Scotland, I would say. But just going on what you said, Julien, I think Areola has learned from Lloris. I mean, if you look at the number of balls he's let through his hands this season, he's clearly sorry, that was harsh. I know Hugo, he's doing better. He's in the Champions League final. He's doing very well. But looking at PSG's team, they've got better players than the rest of Ligue 1 in every position, I would say, apart from goalkeeper. And that's a debate, of course. We could debate it, but there are
some positions you can debate.
Yeah, you can debate, but I think in goal, because I want to talk about the goalkeepers, because we've seen some top goalkeepers this season. We've seen Benjamin Lecomte, Anthony Lopez. I think has had a great season with Lyon. We've got a goalkeeper that we're going to hear from in a moment, Matt Sels, who's done brilliantly at Strasbourg. A young goalkeeper at Nîmes, Paul Bernardoni, who looks to have a big future. Just very quickly, Julien, the health of goalkeepers in Ligue 1 is good at the moment, no?
It's quite better. We had, I think, very good goalkeepers during the 90s in the French league. Then we had really like a big hole with some generations that were quite poor. And now you forgot about Mike Maignan, who was raised in PSG. And I think he for me, he has been maybe the best goalkeeper this season in the French league.
Well, we're going to hear from Matt Sels now. Our producer, Ian Holyman, managed to speak to the Strasbourg goalkeeper, and he's been superb. Strasbourg, it's only their second season back in the top flight after a long absence. They've won the Coupe de la Ligue, so they're going to be in Europe next season. They're safe in mid-table, and the Belgian goalkeeper Matt Sels, who struggled during his time at at Newcastle. Didn't get too many opportunities at Newcastle, but he's clearly a very good goalkeeper, and he has proved that so far this season with Strasbourg.
Maybe for me it was difficult. The adaptation, also the first time abroad, was the first time in another countries, other mentality. I don't know, other habits. So maybe that's why it was really difficult in the beginning. And okay, Newcastle took me also as a number one, so I needed to be ready immediately. And maybe that was the thing. I was maybe not ready immediately from the beginning, because I needed some few months more to adapt. But okay, like I said, is the past, and now I try to look forward and try to work hard. And okay, maybe in the future, maybe I get another opportunity to show the people that was unlucky for me. And I hope I can show them that I was a good signing for them.
Yes, Matt Sells has had a superb season with Strasbourg, and you can listen to the whole interview on the Le Beau Jeu's page. Do check us out on all the platforms, Ligue 1 Podcast or Le Beau Jeu. Both searches will bring up our pod. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, I think everything pretty much. And you can contact us. We had a lovely message from Ghislain in Strasbourg, who was reacting to my coup de gueule last week when I said that the French always play themselves down and say we're not a football country, on est pas un pays de foot. And Ghislain suggested that France aren't a pays de foot compared to other big nations, but also agreed with our points that football is a massive sport and a massive passion for so many people in France. It's an interesting topic. We're not going to go back in there, but thank you, Ghislain. Anybody else who wants to ask a question or spark some discussion, send us an email, ligue1podcast@gmail.com. That's LIGUE1 podcast@gmail.com. And do rate our podcast. We're going to delve into relegation matters now. Julien was commentating for beIN Sports, the big Brittany derby between Rennes and Guingamp. Robbie was commentating for the rest of the world. And here is what happened.
Now the cross in. And the shot saved by Kubek, and the follow-up. And Mendy has his first goal of the season for Guingamp. And they are back in it. They don't come much more important than this. He's a young man with a famous dad and broad shoulders. Marcus Thuram. Saved by Kubek. And he headers the follow-up wide.
So incredible drama at the bottom this weekend. Two huge victories. Caen winning 3-2 against Reims. Dijon beating Strasbourg 2-1. So they're putting the pressure on, trying to climb out of the bottom three. Monaco lost 1-0 away to Nîmes. It's now just one win in 10 for Jardim's side. They're level on points with Caen. Caen are currently in 18th position. Monaco in 17th position. They have a slightly better goal difference. But 18th place is a playoff. Just to remind people, the bottom two go down. Dijon, second from bottom. Guingamp are now down. But it was heartbreaking, wasn't it, Robbie, for Guingamp, because they came back against Rennes, equalised with 4 minutes left, and then got that penalty at the end, and poor old Marcus Thuram saw his spot kick saved.
Absolutely, it was an incredible scenario. With 10 minutes to go, the Rennes fans started singing Guingamp in the second division, Guingamp en Ligue 2, Guingamp en Ligue 2. And I just thought at the time, well, there's still maybe something can happen. It did look not good for Guingamp. But then the red card, the goal back, things started to change. It would only have been a stay of execution, I think. Guingamp are the worst team in Ligue 1 this season. So look, the dream ends in week 36 instead of week 37. They have the worst attack. Marcus Thuram is their top scorer with only 8 goals. 4 of them were penalties anyway. 4 goals from open play for your top scorer in the division. They'd only scored they've scored 25 in 36 matches now. They've conceded 10 goals more than any other side in the competition.
Why have Nolan Roux and Ronnie Rodelin not been chipping in more with goals?
Well, Ronnie Rodelin's been out with niggling injuries most of the campaign. He's come back every now and again. It's a fair question because I think he is a very talented footballer who's probably never lived up to what his talent could have given to this side. Look, Nolan Roux is probably not in the same bracket, I don't think, as Ronnie Rodelam, but last season we saw him with Metz score plenty of goals.
And still finishing
Get relegated.
finished 20th. Two
Yes,
seasons in a row
exactly.
for him.
Yeah, so-
Quite harsh.
But it's a bit harsh on Marcus Thuram because he is a very good player. I know
He
he's
is
not
a
been
very
brilliant
good player.
all season long, but intermittently he's been Gangon's best player this season.
He's
And for
played
him
out
to,
wide quite a lot.
yeah, and for that moment to be the
But I think
one
he's
that
probably
relegates
better out
them is
wide
harsh.
at the moment than through the middle. He was through the middle last night, and we didn't see him that much. I think his first real chance of the match was from the penalty, and that's maybe not good for it. He did move out wide in the last few stages when Nolan Roux came through the middle and Alexander Mendy as well came on. But it's been a difficult season for Guingamp. They changed coach as well. They brought in a lot of new players. Then they changed coach. Gourvenec comes in, doesn't play half the new players, brings in other players. You know, for a moment, you had that little bounce back under Gourvenec where you thought, oh, Guingamp maybe will return to the side that we know. They were in the final. Perhaps the final didn't play into their favour either. It was probably the worst thing that could have happened to them.
I talked to members of the staff yesterday, and they told me it was really the turning point for them because they could follow the good wave. If you say, I don't know if you say that in English, but you have
riding a wave of
they were
confidence for
exactly.
the final.
And then they lost in the penalties. This terrible final against
penalty
Strasbourg,
shootout as well.
and after that
They
they
haven't
said
won since.
they didn't lose their group, but in some way they knew that after that it was really hard to find another blow, which is quite hard because you said they were the worst team this season, which is true. But if you talk about individuals, I think if you rate the teams, I would rate them maybe 14th or 15th.
In terms of their squad.
In terms of their squad
playing
and the individual qualities,
But
they are
without-
better than they are now.
Without being patronising towards Guingamp because they come from a very small town and so on, and you might not expect them to be in Ligue 1. They've had 6 seasons, which is their longest ever time in the top flight. In that time, they won the Coupe de France. They got to the knockout rounds of the Europa League. They got to another cup final this season. It's been a good run for them.
But I thought it was interesting what you say, because they do have quality, Julien.
Yeah.
And the Vultures are going to be circling now. I think Thuram, perhaps Ludovic Blas as well. There'll be players that Ligue 1 clubs are looking for. What do you think about those two in particular, Blas and Thuram? What would be good for them, and are there other players that you think will be on their way?
The problem for Guingamp is that they have quite young players that will want to leave, just as you said, and Blas with his left foot can be interesting for, I think, quite good teams, top 10 teams for sure. I think if you are Saint-Etienne or Rennes, you could bet on him. Marcus Thuram could hope to have even a better club coming for him.
Would it be better for Thuram to go to Lyon or Marseille than to go to Everton?
If I was him, if Everton would call me, I would go to Everton, of course, because if you're in Lyon, you're not sure that you will play in that position. And if you go to Marseille, you know that the season could be quite hard
There's a gamble
as well.
going to Marseille.
Have you been to Liverpool before?
Yes, I like the city quite well. But no, and
I'd go to Marseille personally.
And that's one point. And the other point is that some other players are quite old and are near the end. If you talk about Didot, who said he will quit football,
he's leaving.
Lucas Do, who's getting not that old, but you can feel that
Kerbrat,
it's
Sorbonne.
yeah, there are Sorbonne and Kerbrat, players like that you don't know if they will be able to stay at the level that is needed to go back to the Ligue 1. So it will be quite interesting to see how the transfer window will happen for Guingamp this summer. The good thing for them is that they know they have a coach that knows how to go back, because you have to remember that Gourvenec was there before and he took them from the 3rd division to Ligue 1, and he's the coach who won the French Cup with Guingamp. So he knows how to do, but now they have to make difficult choices and to invest in a good way the money they will get from Blas, maybe from Coco or Ikoko, Rebocho, and from Thuram.
For me, the story of the season, if Monaco go down, would be that. Because, not only they were champions 2 years ago, but they've recouped 400, 500 million euros on players. How is it possible to get relegated, to deteriorate so quickly? Yeah, Monaco have lost 1-0 to Nîmes. I mentioned they're level on points with Caen in 18th position. They're only 2 points above Dijon. Both Dijon and Caen are winning football matches at the moment. If you're Monaco, if you're Rybolovlev, if you're the Monaco, we saw the Monaco fans absolutely furious. I mean, this situation is astonishing, Andy.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's funny because when they won at Lille in mid-March, we thought that's it, they're safe, which was a brilliant result. As it happens, that's the only game they've won since the start of March. And even when they drew at Rennes about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, when they came from 2-0 down with Falcao scoring twice in the second half, I thought that day, they showed great fight. I thought that's surely them now. They're going to come through this. And then against Saint-Etienne last weekend, it was a very poor performance again. Now, this happens at the weekend against Nîmes, and we keep thinking, no, they're not going to go down. But the reality is that they really could go down. And if they end up in a relegation playoff, I kind of fear for them. And Leonardo Jardim said it himself at the weekend that maybe we don't have the players with the mentality for a relegation dogfight. And that's clearly the case.
Robbie, I've got a question from Arman Khan on Twitter who says, how are Monaco going to survive? What do they have to do? I mean,
well, they have to beat Amiens next weekend.
Exactly. They're home to Amiens and then away to Nice.
Could still be in a little bit of trouble.
Yes.
Here.
I haven't mentioned.
Monaco it's next week if they can get a win over Amiens. But Amiens, I think it's Guingamp, their last match in week 38 as well. So Guingamp are down. They probably won't have that much to play for, or even the idea of really trying to take Amiens down with them. Amiens are not in the clear from this. The fact that Caen have found such good form, have quality players as well, have great fans, have a great stadium with a great atmosphere. I would put my money on Monaco and Caen. Perhaps Amiens is a little bit of an outside call.
Stay up, but, Amiens were at home to Toulouse at the weekend. It was 0-0, and it was a dreadful 0-0. And Amiens didn't look like a team that were giving absolutely everything to stay up. They've got
they're nervous, aren't they?
They've got
just trying to get across the
35
line.
points, Amiens, so they're 2 points above Monaco and Caen. What a huge game. Monaco at home against Amiens next weekend.
Who would have believed that at the start of the season? If you heard about this, you could have thought about the relegation battle for Amiens, of course, but for Monaco, you could have believed that it would be for Europe. So yes, it will be a thriller for the French league, an unexpected thriller, I think, in Louis II.
Absolutely. We're running out of time, as is often the case. So much to talk about still. The main issues that have to be decided, I think, who's going to finish fourth now in terms of the Europa League. Saint-Etienne favourites, but Montpellier, with their win away to Saint-Etienne, are now in with a chance. And then, of course, who is going to go down with Guingamp. We're going to have a special show for you after the end of the season on the awards. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. Ligue1podcast@gmail.com. Let me tell you who the UNFB, the Players Union, have put up for awards. For the Best Player Award, Hatem Ben Arfa, Angel Di Maria, Kylian Mbappe, Neymar, Nicolas Pepe. Julien, do you have a preference out of those five?
I think it will be Mbappe, I believe, but the fight would be between Mbappe and Pepe, obviously. And I think there may be some, I would say, two players missing in this list and two players that could have been out of it. And I think Savanier deserved really to be in that list, and maybe Thiago Mendes from Lille. The problem for them is that you can't see them on the chart of the top scorers, but in terms of best players, I think those two could have been there.
You also talk about influence they've had on their teams, don't you, and the success of the team. And Thiago Mendes has been, compared to the Thiago Mendes of last season as well, incredible turnaround. Not only in a collective performance for Lille, but as an individual performance as well. He's been a different player this season. And Teji Savanier, well, he is top of the assist chart, which is incredible, and has been one of the key members of that side because he's the heart and soul of that Nîmes side.
I still don't understand why Hatem Ben Arfa is on the list.
It's the players that vote.
I know, and I think that Neymar, you could also say, why is he on the list? Because he's only played 17 games.
Vote for the best player
but the game on Saturday kind of shows why, because when he's on the field, he is brilliant, and obviously the players take that into account.
And the players know.
Mbappe will win it.
Seriously, they know. I was watching a program. I was watching a program with the Saint-Etienne players, basically discussing stuff between themselves, and they talked about Neymar, and they're in awe of him almost. And Roman Amuma was joking about, like, it's almost one of the best moments of his season when he got nutmegged by Neymar and turned around and had a big smile to the camera, because it was like, we're not out there. And yes, Teji Savanier, has been superb, I think. And if you're talking about consistency, him and Mendes are above Hatem Ben Arfa, but this guy has an impact.
They're voting for the story. Ben Arfa, after the season he had
Exactly.
in
And everyone
PSG
feeling
last
sorry for
season,
him,
he didn't play all season long. He's a name in French football. He
And
won
he's an
the
incredibly talented
French
player
Cup
as well.
and I agree with you, but I can understand why he was elected in the top 5.
Okay, Robbie, I want a one-word answer. Best goalkeeper. These are the 5 that have been nominated. Areola, Lecomte of Montpellier, Anthony Lopez of Lyon, Mike Maignan of Lille, or Edouard Mendy of Reims.
I would go Mike Maignan.
One word.
One word? Maignan. Is that all right?
That's fine. Julian's already said he thinks Maignan.
I also think Anthony Lopez, it's time for him to leave Lyon because I think he is a very talented goalkeeper.
Been linked with Porto.
Who needs to take the next step up. And if he leaves Lyon, on a personal level, to test himself in a new club environment as well, we know that he's Lyon through and through. He was in a member of the Bad Gones before on the terraces. Look, sometimes for a player, when you have a talent like he does, because I think he's a very talented goalkeeper, he should go and try himself elsewhere.
Would you like him at PSG?
Not at PSG, though.
That's the problem. If he leaves, he has to leave for a better club, a club that can win more trophies. And I'm not sure he could find that somewhere else.
Porto, but is that a step up from Lyon? That's another
That's
debate.
a question, yeah.
Andy, one word answer, please. Best young player this season: Boubacar Kamara, Ousmane Aouar, Jonathan Ikone, Ismail Assar, or Kylian Mbappe. Now, I'm going to take Mbappe out. Let's say he's won the Player of the Year.
It would be Mbappe. I mean, maybe Ismail Assar, but then again, Ismail Assar's league form has not been necessarily that brilliant because he hadn't scored a goal in the league for about 4 months until last weekend. But he was very impressive in their European run. So Ismail Assar.
Andy, another one who doesn't understand one word answer. Andy Scott. Julien Brun. One word, un mot, s'il te plaît. Christophe Galtier, best coach by the way. Christophe Galtier, Bruno Genesio, David Guillon, Thierry Loret, or Thomas Tuchel.
Christophe Galtier, 2 words.
2 words. That's still pretty good, pretty concise. Christophe Galtier, and I don't think too many would argue with that. We're almost up, guys, but just a quick reminder that you can rate us on the different platforms. You can also email in, and we'd love to hear your thoughts about the end of season awards. If maybe there are some players we've missed out, do email us ligampodcast@gmail.com. And now it's time for our lovely little travel segment. We're going to look ahead to next weekend, and we're going to hear about some nice trips that lie ahead. So it is our Bon Voyage segment, and I'm going to throw this to Julien Brun because he is, unfortunately, he's going to have to go to Wembley, apparently, to the FA Cup final. But if you didn't have to go to commentate on the FA Cup final, Julien, where would you like to go in France this weekend?
Not only for the weather, but I would go to Monaco, obviously, to see the Monaco-Amiens game. But unfortunately, I have to go to London. Sorry.
The weather might be good in London as well. Robbie, you're not allowed to go to the Parc des Princes. You always go to the Parc des Princes. PSG playing Dijon. That's actually quite a big one, isn't it?
That is a very good game because we get to celebrate the Ligue 1 title, which I think has not been done enough and isn't done on a regular basis enough in this country. There, the trophy will be presented to the players. They'll all go up and they'll in front of their supporters, a full house at the Parc des Princes. And I think we have to try and get this positive feel-good feel back around winning the Ligue 1 trophy. The hexagonal, as it is known.
There's a small matter of Dijon desperately needing points as well, and they'll give everything.
Absolutely.
Of
so
course,
it will be
to make it a flat
good
occasion.
Game.
Andy?
Lyon for me, because Lyon still have to clinch a top 3 finish. They're playing a Caen team who are looking to avoid relegation. I'll be getting there in time to watch the Women's Champions League final, which has been played just before it. Obviously, Lyon have the chance to win that trophy yet again. They're the holders. They're playing Barcelona in Budapest, so it could be a very good night indeed for Lyon, for the men's and women's teams.
All right, I'm going to go to Toulouse to see Marseille, just because I'm really hungry, and I think that's the place to go to eat.
Well, Lyon's pretty good for food as well.
Lyon's good food, but I'm the southwest for me, the cassoulet, and I know it's more of a winter dish, but I don't know. A weekend of Toulouse for me. Always think with your stomach. That's it, guys. That's it for Le Beau Jeu. Julien, you've got through. You were saying 45 minutes. Do we have to talk for that long? I think we've talked for even longer than that. But thank you, Julien. Merci.
My pleasure.
We'll see you again soon, hopefully. And Robbie, thank you. Andy, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
And a big merci as well to our producer, Ian Holyman. Don't forget, you can listen to his interview in full with Matt Sells on Le Beau Jeu's homepage. We'll see you again next week. All the best. Bye-bye.